Our selection today is Stand By Me.
When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the world is tossing me like a ship upon the sea. Oh, thou who rulest wind and water, stand by me. In the midst of tribulation, stand by me. In the midst of tribulation, oh, stand by me. When the hosts of hell assail and my strength begins to fail, oh, thou who never lost a battle, stand by me. In the midst of faults and failures, stand by me. In the midst of faults and failures, stand by me. When I do the best I can, and my friends misunderstand, oh, thou who knowest all about me, stand by me.
In the midst of persecution,
Stand by me.
in the midst of persecution,
Stand by me.
when my foes in battle array undertake to stop my way.
Oh, thou
chilly Jordan.
Oh, thou lily of the valley, stand by me. Stand by me.
Stand by me, stand by me.
Stand by me. Stand by
Shabbat Shalom. These are the church oracles of the UCI, beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29 through 32, through chapter 5, 1 through 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for Yahshua's sake, hath forgiven you. Chapter 5, 1 through 4. Be ye therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also hath loved us, and given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim, for Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 through 21. Behold, I send an angel before thee, to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelation chapter 3, verse 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
Shabbat Shalom, family,
Shabbat Shalom.
and hallelujah for us being brought into another Shabbat
Praise Yah.
And hallelujah for those who have brought it to mind to do what thus says Yah. Today we're going to go through a few things before the last trump. We've got a lot of different stuff going on, and everybody's got their different thought processes of where we're at as far as the times. And even looking at where we're at, sometimes we're so busy looking at signs of the times that we're not looking at where we're at in our walk, which I think is more important to understand where you're at in the walk, more so than being focused on the signs of the times. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm looking at the children that have been brought up in this word. Their mindset is somewhat different than us who came into the word as adults. I look at a lot of them, and I'm including some of my own. The drive, the ambition to do certain things is not there just because of the knowledge that they have already. There's certain things they're like, why even do it? This is not going to stand. But we have to realize that even in that thought process, we still have to survive. We still have to make it. We still have to live. If that's the case, why don't we just all give up and go live under the bridge? We still have to maintain. So the mindset of some of our children, the mindset of some adults is very dangerous. Just because we're so busy trying to discern the times, and because we're discerning the times, the walk is faltering. But even if that's your thought process, it's not fair to put that on anyone else. It's not fair to expect that of somebody else. And if you decided that's what you want to do, when you're getting ready to make that move, why would you want to throw your burdens on someone else while you're trying to lighten your burden? I'm setting myself up that I can run to the seashore to get to the ship. But yet, as I'm running, I'm going to say to Eliah, hey, brother, can you hold my backpack for me? How fair is that? I'm going to lighten my load, but put it on someone else? That is not fair. So let's get into scriptures and look at a few things. Let's begin at 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And we're going to read verses 50 through 58. Once again, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 50 through 58. And this class is entitled Before the Last Trump.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Elohim, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to Elohim, which giveth us the victory through our Adonai, Yeshua the Mashiach.
So when we go back to verse 52, it says, at the last trump, for the trump shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For anyone who has a thought process that we're in the times of the last trump, has this happen? Do we see this happening? So if these things are not happening, then we can't be at the last trump. So let's examine ourselves before we go off and jump off to tell somebody what we think we feel or believe we're at. It says that no man should know the time but the Father himself. So even if you're paying attention to the signs, you already got one wrong because none of this is happening. Let's go to Revelations chapter 8.
Still have verse 58, my brother.
Go ahead, my brother.
Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Adonai, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Adonai.
So he ended that by saying, therefore, my beloved brethren, be you steadfast. Stand in what you know. Stand in what you've been taught. Unmovable. So this is when those flapping lips come your way and start talking. You have to know how to be unmovable. Because everybody's got some thought process of how they think, feel, and believe. Always abounding in the work of the Adonai. Are you still doing the work? Or do you just give up because you think we're in the times of the last trump? It says always. Always abounding in the work of the Adonai. Let's go to Revelations chapter 8.
Revelations chapter 8 and verse 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before Elohim, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before Elohim out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth, and there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. And the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and there were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So, as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for the third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound.
So there's three more angels which are yet to sound. And all these things have happened before them. Have we experienced any of this yet? Has any of this come upon us yet? But yet, how can we be worried about the last trump when we just read about woes that haven't even come yet? Have we seen any of this? We can still drink the water, right? But yet, we've got people getting us off into worrying about the last trump. there's so much more to come. So if all these things that we just read are horrible, he said, woe to the inhabitants. Because the ones that's yet to come are even worse than this. But yet, people have allowed us to jump to the end, thinking we're in the end. If you're shaky now, if you're trembling now, and none of this has begun yet, what are you going to do when this starts to happen? Do you start wavering now? Do you start getting discombobulated and getting off course? Let's focus on getting our mindset right for what is coming. Even in the situation with Daniel, Daniel wanted to know what the last prophecy was. He said, hey, that ain't going to be in your time. Some of us may never live to be a part of any of this. But here you are so worried about it, you make the wrong moves and pass on, and you haven't been staying diligent on the course. What did it profit you? That's our problem. We always want to be off into the mystics and know stuff way in advance. Worrying about stuff way in advance. That's why Yahweh will not reveal certain things. Because we can't handle it. Because here we are, we have these things here that have not taken place. But yet, you're worrying about the last trump. Once you experience this and make it through, then mentally, spiritually, and physically, you may be able to handle the last trump. But why not start preparing your spirit for the things that's coming before that? Continue, my brother. Revelation chapter 9.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Elohim in their foreheads.
So are we working towards getting the seal in our foreheads, or are we too busy worrying about the last trump? Are we keeping our eye on the prize? This is part of the prize, where those locusts can't touch you. They can't do anything to you if you endure to get the seal. This is just the fifth trumpet. This is just the fifth trumpet. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 9 and verse 5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as to the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man.
So, being tormented for 5 months, there's little that we're going through, and people are wavering. People are ready to give up and give away everything. Can you endure the torment for 5 months? Or would you rather have the seal so you don't have to be part of those who are tormented? Let's keep our eye on the prize. Let's not allow things to get us off course worrying about the wrong thing at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
So whatever that torment is, it's going to be that grievous that people are going to want to die. We're nowhere near that right now. People are still living life. People are still enjoying themselves like nothing's going on. The question's been asked to me several times. Do you all believe in COVID? There's something out there. They are trying to kill us. It is there. The way it's being handled and the propaganda machine behind it, I don't agree with. But is there something out there? Yes. And just like in the times in Egypt, what did Pharaoh say? Let's deal with them wisely. What was he worried about? How we kept multiplying. Isn't that what was said? That we should be the first ones to take the vaccine? Why? What are they worried about? How we've been multiplying. Welcome to Egypt again, my friends. But even in this Egypt, as in that Egypt, we've got to endure till the end until Yahweh says it's time to go. We have to continue to do what's necessary to at least survive in this place. To keep a roof over our head, and food on the table, raiment on your back. Continue, brother. Go ahead.
It's funny, my brother, that you said that, because we're, as far as the numbers that we are, but they also mention not only, blacks, but they also mention the Spanish too, which on both sides, there's a lot of people. Blacks, the Spanish, there's a lot of people. And when it comes down to lessening our numbers, that's what this thing here is all about. They've talked about it many years before.
Brother, even with that, with the lessening of our numbers, whether they do it or Yahweh do it, our numbers are going to be lessened.
Yes.
What it says, 2/3 of Israel will be cut off. Now, here's the thing of having understanding and waiting patiently for understanding. When I used to first hear 2/3, it used to stop there 2/3, and then my mind would say, mankind. And then one day it's like, no, 2/3 of Israel is going to get cut off. If it was 2/3 of human beings, that means more of Israel would get an opportunity to survive. But no, it specifically says 2/3 of Israel is going to be cut off. So whether it's by Yahweh allowing what they're putting forth, or what Yahweh is going to do, 2/3 of us has been prophesied, been set forth to cut off, to be cut off and die. Jump to verse 13, my brother.
Okay. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before Elohim, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men.
This is the sixth angel sounding. Have we gone through this? Do you understand what's going to happen? They're set to slay the third part of men. Have we gone through this? But yet, folks has got us jumping all the way to the last trump. Like we read before, there's stuff that's going to make man wish they could die. Wanting to die, trying to die. We have not seen that yet. But yet, we're trying to get to the end. And just like with Daniel, some of us may not see that. So now you got your heart and your mind set on something that probably will never be in your time. In time not meaning the years, your lifetime. Whatever Yahweh has accounted to you as your lifespan. He didn't say it won't happen in your generation. I'm saying it might not happen in your lifetime. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths.
All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 11. There's so much more yet to come. We have not even begun to scratch the surface of the trials and tribulations that's coming our way. But are we doing what's necessary to endure to the end? Or are we busy trying to jump to the end? Exodus chapter 11. Start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold.
So they're getting ready to leave out of Egypt. The journey is about to begin out of Egypt. But Yahweh is telling them to get substance, not give away what you got. He's telling them to get substance. By getting substance, this gonna mean you have more to carry with you, right? Yahweh didn't say, well, he gonna thrust you out this time, abandon everything and get ready to run. No, he said these supplies here is gonna be necessary. You just don't know what it's for yet. But you're gonna need to carry these things with you. Right here in this portion here, we see of your neighbor. So the first thing you would think is the Hebrew next door. We'll get into it and see who their neighbors were, or what was considered your neighbor, because a lot of times we only think of our own Hebrew brothers and sisters as neighbors. But even in that case, if you're heading out, why would you want to burden your own Hebrew brother or sister with stuff? If you really believe that it's time to depart and it's time to go, why would you burden someone else that should be getting ready to leave out with you? Like I said earlier, it's unfair for me to know it's time to go and say, you know, Eli, I'll carry this backpack for me. I'll see you at the ship. What about the stuff he's bringing? Or what about the fact that he might not want to carry anything? Is that fair to him? How unrighteous a thought is that from me? But yet here they are. This is the first Exodus. There's a second Exodus yet to come. And Yahweh is saying borrow stuff from your neighbors, which even included clothes, which we'll get to. Go ahead.
And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moshe was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moshe said, Thus saith Yahweh, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, And all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts.
I also want you just to keep in mind of something. We just read about the trumpet sounding and the things that's yet to come. Our people are in Egypt, and although they're not being physically affected by the plagues upon Pharaoh and the Egyptians, they're still being affected by the plagues because they're seeing this stuff. So what goes into the eye gate also goes into the soul. But how you deal with it is up to you. Ask someone who's been to war and saw the collateral damage of war. There's a lot of people in the military who have never seen the collateral damage of war. And then you're out there day in and day out dealing with certain things. It has some type of effect on you. So they're seeing these plagues. They're seeing what the Egyptians are going through. So it's having an effect one way or another. I'm sure there are some people who were sympathetic, and I'm sure there's others who were glad to see it happen. But every man have to judge for himself where his heart is at. I know a brother who's a Marine who told me he was out in the field so long that it became nothing to him to eat his food sitting on a dead body. And I can tell you right now, to this day, I think something's wrong with the brother. Because his way of dealing with people is really heartless. So these things have an effect. Even though it's not at your house, but you can see it happening. And it's not affecting everyone the same way. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 11 and verse 6. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it anymore.
And you're thinking that they're not going to hear these cries? I'm remembering a story of a little girl in Jamaica where these men came and had a problem with someone in the house. And they set the house on fire. And the neighbors say they could still hear the little girl screaming. Now the men who set the house on fire stood outside armed to make sure nobody came out the house. So these people are burning alive in a house. And the neighbors say they can still recall the little girl screaming. So here it is. It says it's going to be a great cry. Go ahead.
But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know that, that ye may know how that Yahweh doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these thy servants shall come down unto me and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow you. And after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moshe and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his hand.
Out of his land?
Out of his land, excuse me.
All right, let's go to chapter 12, and we're going to start at verse 33 through 37. Exodus chapter 12, verse 33 through 37.
And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, We be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading thralls being bound up in their cloths, upon their shoulders.
So are they leaving out empty-handed? Did they give away what they had? They took things with them. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moshe, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment.
So to clarify, earlier when it said they borrowed of their neighbors, now we understand who the neighbors were. They borrowed these things from the Egyptians. We see jewels of silver and gold and raiment. Raiment is clothes. Mm-hmm. So they took some clothes off the Egyptians as well. They didn't say, well, we leaving, here's my stuff. Here's my clothes, y'all can have it. They even took clothes from the Egyptians on their way out, departing. It says Yahweh said we will have to leave here the way we came. We came by ships. Do you think we're going to leave from here and get to the destination overnight? We're going to have to be able to sustain the journey, which is going to include food and raiment. Out there on the sea at night, depending on what time of year we have to leave, it's going to be cold. It gets cold at night. I was just laughing at some of my family members in Jamaica 2 days ago, telling me it's cold where they're at. I'm like, come on, man. You're on an island. You're in tropical paradise. What you mean it's cold? What it says, pray that your flight not be in the winter. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians.
Spoil mean they took what they could. They didn't just get sufficient. Hey man, we getting all we can. So that means they took stuff with them. They did not leave empty-handed. They did not give away their stuff. So now we know they took their dough with them. They took their kneading troughs. Now we got them getting silver and gold and clothes. Mm-hmm. That means they're adding more to their journey, or what you would call more burden on this journey. But if we let people throw us off, then we're focusing on the wrong thing. Now you begin a journey. Now you're looking at your brother. Hey, excuse me, can I get a sweater? Can I borrow a coat, brother? Man, where's your stuff at? Brother, I gave it all away.
Yeah.
You know, it's the last Trump, brother. We're getting up out of here, so I gave it all away. For real? Okay. Let's go to Matthew chapter 24.
Still got one more verse.
Oh, go ahead.
Verse 37. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men beside children.
And they're going on foot. They just added more to themselves for a journey by foot. Not like in this day and time where we got these swift beasts to pack everything in the back and make our way to the coast, which is not going to happen. Because if chaos is happening, a lot of these highways are going to be shut down and chaotic. We might just be journeying on foot again. Then you're going to have to ask yourself, how many know the way to Savannah by foot? All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 24. My brother, I will be trying to sustain my strength for the journey, okay? So I will keep trying to eat and keep up my little bit of stamina that I got and ability and muscle mass and endurance. And the only way you can keep that up is to eat properly. And for those of us who are not into it, I mentioned this disease earlier, we all need to start looking at the process of what we do daily as far as exercise. Scripture tells us exercise profits a little. In this day and time, with all these numbers that they're saying, one thing that a lot of people are not looking at, and my wife keeps saying it, look at the health condition of the people that they say are passing away from this thing. Majority of these people are overweight, unhealthy people. As they keep pushing these statistics, open your eyes and look at the people. Because I'm sitting here slim and trim, don't mean I am healthy. My own chiropractor has said to me one time, he saw a guy walk into his office. Looked like the epitome of health. When he did his levels and everything, he said it was one of the most unhealthy person he's ever seen. Because what was going on inside. Did not reflect what the outside looked like. So whatever he was feeding the inside had him completely unhealthy, though he looked like this great physical specimen of health. Good.
No, I just wanted to say too, that's why, Yahweh gave us, moral laws, gave us sacrificial laws, but, Yahshua came and dealt with that for now. But then also Yahweh gave us dietary laws. The pork, the crab, shrimp, the lobsters, and all those things, those crustaceans, those things are unclean. The things that it do to the body, Yahweh know much greater than us. So he wanted us to stay away from them things. And a lot of people out there that are infected have already have those things within themselves throughout these years that they have taken these things within them. So with these things being taken within you, you think about like your sink. There's going to be a buildup within you throughout the years of doing these things, depending on how much you have intake within you. If you haven't taken much in you, praise Yah, we don't do it now. But before, these things, man, have a natural buildup, unclean abomination, unclean buildup within you. And we got to be mindful of those things and stay away from those things. Yahweh gave us a dietary law for a reason.
I mean, at the end of the day, who made man?
Exactly.
So therefore, he knows the whole complete makeup and function of man better than man does. He is the ultimate physician. Go ahead, Matthew chapter 24.
In verse 1. And Yahshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahshua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Yes, I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming, and of the end of the world? And Yahshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed one, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
So for all the people who love to jump around and surf and check out all these other people, please keep this in mind. Go ahead.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows.
Just the beginning, not the end. This is just the beginning. And what did they ask? When's the end of the world? This is something that wasn't even going to be in their time. Go ahead.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
And the betrayal does not necessarily mean something in the open. Betrayal can come by somebody just telling you something in scripture that's wrong. Mm-hmm. Just giving you unrighteous advice is betrayal. Go ahead.
And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
And see, we're also in this time where everybody's all about themselves, what I think, feel, and believe. You know, it says, and because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. I mentioned this last Shabbat, and I think it did it towards the end once class was over. This is where we're at as far as that same virus. This is where love comes in. If you know that you're not feeling well, the love you should have for your fellow man is to stay home. If it's been a couple of days and you're like, well, I feel better now, I'll go. No, you may still be contagious. You may still be shedding something. So just for the love of your brother and your sisters, say, okay, you know what? I'll sit this out. We broadcast both on the internet and over the phones. Mm-hmm. So are you missing the class? No, you're not. But let's have love for each other. To say the love that I have for my brother and my sisters, I will stay home and sit this one out. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let him which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes.
So at this point, he's saying, just stay still. Just stay still. Something we don't know how to do. We don't know how to sit and meditate. It says, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso reads, let him understand. Have we seen that yet? Do we even understand what that is? We know what the abomination is. My brother was just talking about food. The abomination is the pig. When we see the abomination, desolation stand in the place where he ought not to, that's when you see that man standing in the holy city proclaiming himself to be something he is not. Mm-hmm. And for all of you who don't have an understanding, that will be the Pope. The one who calls himself the Holy Father. The scripture tells you to call no man father. Mm-hmm. Has this happened yet? When you see this happen, he says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let them which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Go ahead, my brother.
Verse 19. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
Will we stand to be a part of the elect? Are we desiring to be a part of the elect? Because if there is no elect, then there's no reason to shorten the days. Go ahead.
Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is the Mashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, in so much that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
So in order not to be deceived, you've got to stay in your book. You've got to continue to study. And be not afraid to ask questions. Because even though they're not saying that they're the Mashiach, if they're telling you something or preparing you for something that is not so, then you're being deceived. If somebody's telling you that we're in the last trump and you can see that there's 6 things that haven't yet to happen, are you not being deceived? Go ahead.
Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Now, I want everybody to hold your place there, because we're going to jump back and forth here for a little while. Let's go to Revelations chapter 6. Remember to hold your space there on Matthew 24. We're going to go to Revelations chapter 6. And we're going to read verses 12 through 14.
Revelations chapter 6, from verse 12 through 14. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places.
As far as I know, I spoke to some people in the islands 2 days ago. I spoke to one today, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. So I would assume that this hasn't happened yet. Am I concerned about my people that's on the islands? Yes, I am.
Yes.
But if they're not reading and getting an understanding, that's going to be on them. Are they going to get the opportunity to flee like we're going to get the opportunity to flee before this place is destroyed? Yes, they will. But how many have an understanding that that is coming? How many of them are walking in a walk that is going to be pleasing unto Yahweh? I can say one thing is we usually think it's harder for the older people to get this through their head once we start showing them things. You know, I praise Yahweh that my mother's had the opportunity to come here. And when I talk to my mother, we can talk scripture and she will use the name of Yahweh. Now, my sister who's never been here, who lives in the house with my mother, speaking to her recently and heard her saying, Yahweh, I'm like, that's peculiar. That's rather interesting. But see, now it lets me know that in order for her to now talk to me, and while talking to me, use the name of Yahweh, that means my mom is somehow spreading that influence in the house as well. My nephews are in the house. My mom will tune into Bible study. My mom will tune into classes. One of my nephews once looked at my mom and said, isn't that my uncle on YouTube? She said, yeah. She's like, he said, well, I thought you told me it was nothing but foolishness on YouTube. Interesting. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 24 and we're going to read verse 30.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
These are things still yet to come, people. Let's go back to Revelations chapter 6 and we're going to read verses 15 through 17. Revelations chapter 6 and verse 15 and through 17.
And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
And we read earlier about man wanting to die. Here's chief men and captains, people in position, asking the rocks to fall on them. Because they would rather deal with that death than to deal with the wrath of our Elohim. Right now, what we see the chief men and mighty men and men of stature doing, trying to force us all to take a vaccine. They haven't reached this position where they're running and hiding yet. So what are we thinking? How do we believe, or how can we allow someone to make us think that we're in the last trump? There's so much more to come. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 24 and read verse 31 for me, brother.
Okay. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
So here we go with the sound of a trumpet, gathering the elect from from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Let's now go back to Revelations, and we're going to go to verse 7. We're going to read verses 7, chapter 7, verses 1 through 14.
7, okay, 1 through 14?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads.
So the joy of being a servant, one of the prize at the end, which we discussed before, they're about to bring some more woes upon the earth. And he said, no, before you even do that, seal the servants. Seal the servants. Are you a servant? Are you doing what's necessary to be a servant? Now look at all the stuff that have gone through. All the things that have come upon the earth. And now he's saying, seal the servants. That means the servants have gone through these trials and these tribulations. But yet, towards the end, they're still being counted worthy to be called servants. Will we continue the course? Will we stay the course? Will we endure to the end? Or do we let what we think, feel, and believe, and sometimes not even what we think, feel, and believe, what others think, feel, and believe, cause us to be thrown off course, cause us to start wavering, cause us to call other people with our wavering? We got to stay the course. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 7 and verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Yehudah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Dan were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
Now, we looked at 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe of the nation of Israel. 12,000 is not a lot of people, not with today's numbers. We don't know who those 12,000 from each tribe will be. All of us are from one of those tribes. Do we know what it takes? Do we know what's necessary to be counted within the 12,000? You got to think about even the numbers. Yahweh said 2 of a family, 1 of a city. That's all he needs. $12,000 is not a lot. What is Yahweh's requirement? Obedience, servitude, not seat dwelling. Then we go down to the next one. Verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. Read the next one, please.
And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our Elohim, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb.
And they said, our Elohim. But yet you listen to some of these people on the corner, you would think that Israel is the only one who's going to be saved. You'd think that Israel is the only ones that are saying Yahweh is my Elohim. All nations, kindreds, people, different tongues. What is a tongue? Different languages. So then you get the same people off telling you you have to know Hebrew. So if they spoke another language, how'd they get there then? What was their understanding? Or did they have to learn Hebrew first? There's nothing wrong with learning another language. But it shouldn't be so you can exalt yourself over someone else. How about learning so you can be helpful to someone who speaks that language? That's the purpose. Do you understand how great it would be for you to be in a strange country and you finally meet someone who speaks your language? And you probably stick to that person like a puppy following its owner. My daughter just went through that, going off to college. She met a young lady that is Korean. When she realized my daughter could speak Korean, she was happy. She's like, I haven't been able to speak with no one here. Just the joy of having someone who speaks your native tongue. So I go learn Hebrew and get into exalting myself with Hebrew. How does that benefit you guys? If I sat here and he and I sat here and read in Hebrew, what edification is going to be to the rest of you guys? That is how the Catholic Church has been able to rule over Catholicism. Because they're reading in Latin. How many people in the room understand Latin? How many of our people are filled and brought up in Catholic churches? Ask them to speak Latin. They know nothing. But yet you've got a man in front of you speaking out of the Bible in Latin and you're saying amen. What sense does that make? Wouldn't it be more edifying if he spoke to the people in English? But see, it keeps him on a pedestal. Makes him seem holier than thou. It's that thing, remember when you was a kid, I know something you don't know. We're adults, we're grown. We should be able to communicate to each other in simplicity and on common ground. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our Elohim forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
Now, verse 13. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? Verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes. This was not just the children of Israel standing there. And then it goes on to say, And I said unto him, Sir, you know. And he said to me, these are they which came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. These are they which came out of great tribulation. Who are they? A great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues. But they went through the tribulation. Not just tribulation, great tribulation. But if we go by what people think, feel, and believe, we would think that nobody else is going to make it but the children of Israel. We think that we're the only ones going through something. So it's woe is me. When it said woe earlier, it said woe to the inhabitants of the earth. Because there's 3 more things coming even worse than what you have endured already. If you're already shaky now, and nothing real has actually started to happen yet, what are you going to do when the great tribulation comes? What are we going to do when the heat starts to be turned up? Let's go back to Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to read verse 32.
Okay. Matthew 24 and verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is near.
Go ahead to 33 for me, please.
So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors.
He didn't say some of these things. He said when you see all these things, know that it's near, even at the door. But what kind of mindset are we having? What kind of mindset are we giving each other? I mean, I know since we've been here, I think we've done the best we can to prepare our people for what is coming. We could give you good speeches. We got a great sounding choir. I mean, we could sing for half an hour. But how does that help each individual prepare for their walk? Mm-hmm. Before you begin a journey, I hope you would try to map out the route. The route is here. But how much time are you spending mapping out the route and understanding what obstacles are going to be on the route? Do you understand which gas station you can trust to stop and ask questions? Which is what a lot of us brothers don't like to do on a journey. We don't want to stop and ask anybody any questions. Instead, we'd rather just stay lost or waste more time on the journey. Because eventually we get it right and get back on course. But how much time did you lose? So that means if you lost time, then some work's diminished. While you're spinning your wheels going nowhere. When it would have been easy to just stop and say, let me ask this person right here. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, man, I know it's written about great joy and happiness, a righteous kingdom that's coming, and those are things, for us to always look forward to. Praise Yah. But at the end of the day, I know sometimes people don't want to hear doom and gloom, but that's also something too that we have to make sure that we prepare for. If those things are not being told, then how is it that we should prepare ourselves for the doom and the gloom that's coming first? Because that's what's coming first before the righteous kingdom. That's what's coming first. That's going to be a trying to our faith before a righteous kingdom comes. So please, he who have an ear, let them hear what the Spirit says unto the churches. Hear.
You know, brother, it says, unless you become like little children. And the honesty with little children, if you're not prepared, will throw you off. Okay? Recently was in a car accident. But before this car accident happened, it had to be no more than 5 minutes getting ready to start a journey that I prayed. Okay? We pulled out, got into an accident. That threw my son, 11 years old, threw him. Because now in his head, wait a minute, Daddy just prayed. So why do we get in an accident? Teaching moment. Son, no life was lost. Mm-hmm. So my prayer did not go unheard. We're all alive. The vehicle can be replaced. So, but you see, if I did not have an answer, or if he did not ask the question, what thought process would he have developed? Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful he asked the question. And I'm thankful for spiritual fortitude to be able to answer that question. At least I hear years from now my own child, because he kept this in his head and developed his own thought process, say to me, I'm an atheist. You remember that one time? And that's what it takes for a lot of people. It takes one situation, one circumstance that they either did not ask questions about, or someone could not answer them righteously, and they made that hard turn. And now here they're an adult and you can't get them to come back. So we all need to understand what it means to be like little children and not be afraid to ask questions. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6. And we're going to read verses 12 through 18.
Genesis chapter 6 and verse 12. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And Elohim said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth.
Now, before we go any further, I want to jump back up to verse 7. And Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repents me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. So if it wasn't for this one man, he was going to wipe everything out. So can one person make a difference? There's your proof right there. This one man made a difference why every single human being wasn't wiped out. But not just this one man and his family. It doesn't say that his family found grace in Yahweh's eyes. It said Noah found grace in Yahweh's eyes. But because they're connected to him, they benefited from that grace. So do you let the rest of the family cause you to go astray and go off into foolishness when you could be that one person? Why Yahweh finds grace and then the grace is extended to the rest of them? As men, we got to stand up. We've got to stand up and make the tough decisions when it comes to salvation and running the house. We've got to stand up and say, get that mess out of here. And sometimes you might have to stand up and call another brother and say, hey, this coming out of your house. Please keep it out of my house. That's the charge we have. And if the sister's the one in the house, damn it, then you can call and make a check too. Look at here. Keep the foolishness away from me. If that's what you believe and that's what you off into, keep it over there. I'm going to tell you what. A lot of us brothers and sisters need to learn one thing. When some mess come to your door, ask this question. Did you present that to Eliel? No, you didn't. I think you should. Did you present that to Kish? No, you didn't. What you calling me for? Why don't you present it to them? And then get back to me. Same thing for you sisters. You get a phone call. Ask the question, have you spoken to Mother Lael about this? No, you haven't. Why don't you call her and then get back to me? Why? Because you realize a lot of people don't want to go to the seasonal people. They'd rather come trip you up. Because if you really believe what you believe and are willing to stand on it, get with one of the heads. I've had people come to me. Hey man, I think this, and according to this that I've been learning. Oh really? Bro, you need to leave that alone. Well, no, I think I'm gonna present this to Scott, to Sop. Bro, leave it alone. Don't do that. No, man. Okay, bro, look, this, and this. Do you see it doesn't line up with your thought process? Yeah, I see that. Okay, man, I got it. 2 weeks later, and now I gotta watch them get chewed up. And then I'm standing there going, I told you not to present that. I told you not to do that. But you gave me this fake. Yeah, brother, I'm with you. I got it now. But whatever it was down in your heart, you just couldn't let go. Or respect the person you think I don't know nothing. So in a way, as we would say, you tried me. Because I already told you don't do it. But you decided you was going to go do it anyway. That lets me, or leads me to believe that you don't think I know what I'm talking about. I was trying to save you, brother, from having your behind handed to you so you'd be able to walk away graciously before you present something to the head priest. Now he's looking at you like, what kind of fool is that? Because now you look even worse when he and I sit down and I go, I told him not to do it. Oh, he had a conversation with you? Yes, he did. And I tried to prevent it from coming out this way. I tried to allow him to save face. That's where some of us get. We get so stuck in what we think, feel, and believe that nobody can't bring us down. But what did it say about pride? It comes before what?
All they fall.
Go ahead, my brother.
Genesis chapter 6 and verse 14. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Room shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. From under heaven, even everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with thee.
Now, verse 17, and behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. Right? And then it goes back and says, and Elohim said unto Noah, verse 13, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So he's telling him the world is coming to an end. But what'd he do? He put him to work. This man was working right up until the end. So where do we get off thinking, let's just relax and do nothing and give everything away? It's the last trump. Man, up until the last day, Noah was busy doing work. And who gave him the job? Yahweh did. Why didn't he just whisk him up somewhere and protect him? He worked for his salvation. He worked for his saving. If we don't understand what salvation is. He worked up to the very end. Not just for his saving, but also his family. So to my younger brothers, my own children who've got this mindset of what you know and feel you can just haphazardly just do enough to get by. What happens when you got to face the great throne of judgment and find out that you haven't done enough to make it in? Now is not the time to start being slack of hand. Now is not the time to start giving away goods. There's still work to be done. I don't care if you think it's the last trump. Go ahead, brother.
You know, my brother, we're in a time right now where we see where a lot of folks is, storing up food. Mm-hmm. And please don't think that we're not supposed to store any food up because we have Yahweh. At the end of the day, our ancestors, when they were leaving out, Yahweh had them to prepare and gather stuff from their neighbors.
Exactly.
They had flour that was not leavened. They had things, to sustain themselves as they leave. So don't think that now we have things that are coming where it's going to be rough for a lot of folks out there to get certain things for them to even eat. Now is the best time to store up whatever little things, flour, rice, oil, salt, these things that is preserved through time, so we can be able to sustain when crap hit the fan. so we don't have to go out there and search and get into trouble while searching, while we can be home for however long Yahweh will, and survive before you have to go out to get anything. So we have to consider these things. A time is coming where we need to make sure we prepare. And forgive me, brother, and it's not just, spiritually. That's the plus. We have to spiritually, but naturally too, as far as food.
Brother, I don't know if people are actually paying attention to what's going on, because me and my family, we enjoy buying the Aldi spring water. Brother, for the last 2 weeks, I've been bouncing between 3 Aldis and cannot find the spring water on the shelves anywhere.
Wow.
So I'm wondering what's going on with that. We already know what's going on with ammunition.
Yes.
Yahshua himself told his own disciples to get a sword. And if you can afford to get 2. It wasn't for them to go to war. It was for their protection. So if you got the holier than thou Christian mentality that I'm not going to own weapons, I feel sorry for you. I've sharpened up my machetes. Because I'm going to do the best to try to preserve for my family. We've all seen the picture. They killed it at one time, the Malcolm X in the window with the gun by any means necessary. And the whole interpretation of that, the street thing, was wrong. This man was saying, I'm going to protect my family by any means necessary. That was the meaning behind that. A lot of things, if you have not gotten already, it's going to be darn near impossible to get anymore. There are people who are just starting to want to get into getting guns, and you can get them, but will you get ammunition? That's now the big thing. There's people who see a penny fall, I'm not worrying about it. Okay. You better start scraping up your pennies and putting them away. And whatever else kind of change you have to put away. Now is the time for us to start being vigilant in order to be able to survive. Enduring. That means going through something. Enduring is preparation, and like I said also, you have to start preparing your physical body, mind, and spirit to be able to endure. And if you let other people get into your head and throw you off, when it comes to the door, who is to blame? He always said, I set a watchman before you. Hey, your blood ain't gonna be on my hands. Your blood ain't gonna be on Priest Esauc's hand. It ain't gonna be on Eliel's hand. Because we're doing our best to warn. But if you want to get off into your own ideas, thoughts, and processes, and don't take the warning, that's going to be on you. It says your blood will be on your own hands. But the watchman has saved his soul. And this is what I'm saying. The saving of our soul also includes continuing to work right up until the very end. Working on ourselves, working on our salvation, working to help spread the word. This is not just for us to sit here in a room and learn and keep it to ourselves. Yeah, sometimes it's going to fall on deaf ears. And it's definitely going to fall on deaf ears if you're coming off what you think, feel, and believe, and then somebody goes and read and we're like, wait, that doesn't match up with what this person just said. Then where's the accountability? Let's go to Matthew chapter 26. We have seasonal people that you can ask anything. And if you're faltering, it's because you chose not to ask. If you're still stumbling at the ABCs and you're not reaching out to anyone and you're still there, that's because that's where you want to be. Not because that's where you have to be. Start at verse 17, please.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yeshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And he said, Go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, The Master saith, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
So if you don't understand verse 18, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, The Master says, My time is at hand. My end is coming. I'm about to die. But I keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. I still got these holy days I got to keep. I still have to be about this business. But my time is at hand. But I still need to be about my Father's work. Go ahead.
And the disciples did as Yeshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12, and they did eat. He said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Adonai, is it I?
So here he is at the end, and he still is aware that one of you shall betray me. Do we stop and think that because we got friendships or because somebody's supposed to be in the Word, around the Word, that you're not capable of being betrayed? Are you that foolish that you don't think that somebody who's been around here with you can betray you? Yehudis was around the Word. He was not in the Word. Watch and see. Who is talking, what they talking about, and does it match their walk? Go ahead.
And he answered and said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Yehudis, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said.
So we keep seeing this situation here, right? Yehudis asked the question, is it I? Why does Yehudis not know it's him? Why does Yehudis not understanding what's going on? He told them point blank. You said it. Why is Yehudis not picking it up? Not only Yehudis didn't pick it up, why did the other 11 pick it up? Sometimes you got to sit long enough to see where everybody is at. Mm-hmm. You got to sit long enough to see everybody's position. Let everybody play their hand. But as we go on, we later find out what? Yehudis comes to himself. Why would Yehudis have to come to himself? Because Yehudis allowed himself to be opened up for an unclean spirit. So no matter how much of Yahshua saying, you said it, he wasn't understanding that. It wasn't penetrating him. Go ahead.
And as they were eating, Yahshua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it.
Now keep in mind, Yehudis is partaking in all of this. The great deceiver is still partaking in holy things, but yet does not understand that he is the deceiver. The other 11 in the room don't understand he's the deceiver. But they're examining themselves. So because they're so busy examining themselves, they don't see him. And that's where we get caught up a lot of times, when we get thrown off by the boisterous wind of somebody else. Nah, let me keep walking my walk and examine myself on my walk. Sister, what? You said what? Sister, I think you may need to go examine yourself. Brother, you may be in a bad place. Maybe you need to go examine yourself. I got me to go work on. Shalom. Like I said, why don't you call Mother Leah? Why don't you call Eliel? Why don't you call Kish? Why don't you call one of them seasonal people? And then get back to me. Go ahead.
Matthew 26 and verse 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then saith Yahshua unto them, all ye shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. Cephas answered and said unto him, though all men shall be offended because of you, yet will I never be offended. Yahshua said unto him, verily I say unto you, that this night, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me 3 times. Cephas said unto him, though I should die with thee, yet will I not deny you. Likewise also said all the disciples. Then cometh Yahshua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, sit you here, while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Cephas and 2 other sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then said he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here, and watch with me. And he went a little further, and fell on his face, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. And he cometh unto the disciples, and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Cephas, what could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again 2nd time, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners.
So even in this situation, in the beginning, he said, my time has come. It's about to be over for me. He still went. The holy dead present was Passover. He did what was necessary for Passover. Explained a few things to his disciples, still on the job. Then he went out with prayers and supplications. He didn't just give up and go off in some pity land. He went before his Father with prayers and supplications. But then he still said at the end of the day, hey, not my will, but your will. This is the job I got to do. I'll see this job to the end. How are we going to start giving up? How do you start throwing the towel in? We've seen here examples where many people know or knew the time of the end was near. But they kept on about the job that was necessary for salvation. Go ahead.
Verse 47. And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came with him a great let me read that again. And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Yeshua and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Yeshua said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Yeshua and took him.
So right up to the very end, Yeshua kept doing what was necessary. He never gave up. He never stopped. And he foreknew way before any of them what the end was going to be. So even with having knowledge of the end, he still went about his business. So even if we were in the last trump or understood this to be the last trump, does this mean we start becoming slack of hand? Does this mean you take your hand away from the plow? Does this mean that we should just close the doors and sit at home? Yahweh willing, I'll keep doing this to my last breath. As long as there's somebody out there that needs saving, that's our duty. That's our job. While you're sitting there worrying and trying to discern the times, what works are you doing? What are you allowing to fall by the wayside? And the thing that's falling by the wayside might be your salvation. While you think you're in a good standing. You have people claiming to be prophets, prophetess, teachers, magnifying themselves as some great one. But if you examine their walk, so far it testifies that they are not of Yah. When you look at these people in these situations, especially if you want to be a prophet or a prophetess, whatever you have prophesied, Scripture says that the whole thing has to be fulfilled. So if your whole prophecy has not been fulfilled, then obviously something's wrong with it. It's not of Yah. You can't look at part of it and say, well, part of it is right, or part of it seems right. It's got to be the whole thing. The whole complete thing. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 14 through 15. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Lucifer understands the power and ability given to him by Yah. Right? When it comes down to Job chapter 2 and verse 6, let me go and read it. Let me not paraphrase. So it's not what I think, feel, and believe. Let's go to Scripture and read it out of Scripture so everybody can be on the same one accord. Job chapter 2 and verse 6. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Behold, he's in your hand, but save his life. We talking about Job. So Satan was given permission to touch Job. But he couldn't take his life. So this was at an appearance where Satan was given this permission. How many other people, how many other angels stood by and heard him being given permission? Also keep in mind that Satan has his own minions that are there. We heard one of them said, I'll go. How are you going to do it? I'll be a lying spirit. Right? So if Satan understands what Yahweh has allowed him to do, what stops him from sending someone to tell someone, I'm going to do this to this person over here? But you think it's of Yahweh. Well, what he said, you got to save his life. So Yahweh allows for us to get touched. Yahweh allows Satan to put his saints through trials and tribulations. These past weeks have made some stand up and reach out to serve in whatever capacity we need them in. But it has also revealed the weak in faith. Not faithless. Weak in faith. Yes, Lucifer has been allowed to touch our priest, our brother. But like I just said, it has made some stand up and reach out. I've seen brothers take back-to-back trips to say, hey, the family needs us. 2 hours one way. Sabbath after Sabbath. Because they realize what? The family needs us. We're here for y'all, brothers. We're here for y'all, sisters. Whatever capacity you need us in. Brothers reaching out from other states. Anything the UCI needs. Y'all need anything? Y'all need any help with anything? Let us know. So, I've seen who stood up. And like we've heard before, Yahweh always send a little bird, let you know what's going on. I've also heard about those who are weak in faith. So do we now examine ourselves and ask, because this person or persons or the things we're allowing to get into our spirit, where there's flapping lips, cause us to waver? Or is it these other channels and things we're engaging ourselves with on the internet? It's now got us wishy-washy. if that's your thing, keep that in your house. Don't put that in somebody else's house. You don't know what somebody else's weakness is. And everybody's not strong enough to say, hey, I don't want to deal with that. I mentioned a show once. The brother went and watched the show and came in and said, hey, Brother Kish, what you tell me to watch that for? Hey, man. And I said, oh, wait a minute, brother. I didn't know you had that issue. Had I known that was a weakness of yours, I would have not had suggested that to you. Because where I'm at, I can't assume that everybody's there. But I also don't know where you're at if you don't tell me. Everything is not for everybody. There's certain conversations and certain things in these scriptures I won't talk the majority all about. At least you run off and go do some stuff that you ain't got no business doing. But for the most part, we leave it as an open book. Because once we're having a conversation, if you allow me to, or allow us to know where your thought process is, we can put it in check and get you on the right course. Because we know that things in this scripture can be used for righteousness and unrighteousness. Lucifer was there in the beginning. When it said, let us make man, he was there. So he understands this better than any one of us. So is he capable of putting visions and dreams and thoughts in your head? Yes, he is. Just like we read, he was told you can touch him or save his life. So what happens when you go helter-skelter off of something that he's put and you start spreading it and not watching? All of us in this room, on a righteous scale or even on unrighteousness, are capable of having dreams and visions. Hey, there's people here that I've had dreams or visions come to me and sat down and explain and tell them, hey, I had this dream. I didn't go and say, Yahweh, talk to me. No, I had this dream or I had this vision. It was about you. And this was the dream or the vision. And Yahweh be praised when the thing goes down, that we sat down and say, this, and this. And I can admit to say, I was actually looking at this person over here. I wasn't looking at that person. But yeah, that person does fit this. So it was about them all the time, huh? But yeah, because of my own carnal mind, I was looking at somebody else. Because to me, that person fit the bill more. But this other person over here was moving so slick and craftily that it took a while for everything to expose itself and go, that makes sense. That person is in that capacity. That person is of this. Okay. So sometimes we just got to slow down before we want to jump out to show ourselves to be some great person. Especially when your works and your walk does not validate why Yahweh would talk to you. Dreams and visions. We all dream. But does that make us all prophets and prophetess? Does that make us all teachers and priests? Like I said, you know, these last few weeks, like I was talking about, not the faithless, just weak in faith. Once you get to these people and you start getting in these people's ears and they start to waver, what kind of blood do you have on your hands? And that's what happens a lot of times. They're picking out the weaker people, trying to get a sympathetic ear, trying to get somebody on their side. Honestly, I'm sitting here. I once heard somebody say that there's a lot of people unhappy in here, so they went to provide a place. As I'm sitting here, is the doors locked? Is the doors chained? Do we have any of your personal belongings, or are we blackmailing you? Are we holding you hostage or ransom? If not, the same way you came in, you can go out. It has been said many a times, you were baptized into the Hebrew faith, not into the UCI. So before you sit here or keep coming and trying to make the weaker people who are not yet rooted in themselves fall, if you're unhappy, there's many other places to be. You can stay home and watch other classes on the internet. You can gather with other people to watch other places on other people on the internet. Nobody, no one here is being forced to be here. Just like Yehudis made a decision that caused his salvation by being around the Word instead of trying to get in the Word, let that not be you. Don't fool yourself and continue the journey in the end just to come to yourself and realize that you've brought damnation upon yourself. Priest Esaac has said it many times. If you leave now, you can still go enjoy the festivities. It says, we just read it, smite the shepherd and the sheep shall be scattered. If something was to happen to me, Eliel, or Priest Esau, does your journey stop? Does the culture go away? Did the world come to an end? Yeshua is the true shepherd. Has Yeshua died? Has Yeshua passed away? He's going to live forever. So don't you think he's still expecting you to endure to the end? I don't care what time it is or what trump it is. He's still expecting the true servants to endure to the end. Please, Israel. Please, both spiritual and natural Israel, people of all kindreds and nations who have tuned in, that watch us, the work does not end. Even if one of us or all of us is not here. Please take that to heart. Sit down and meditate on it. And apply it. That's all we're going to do for today. Remember the Shabbat and keep it holy. Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.